Listen. I spent my whole damn life in the city. Anywhere I go, DC's coming with me. I spent my whole damn life in the city. I could go for broke, but the capital is in me. I spent my whole damn life in the city. Anywhere I go, DC's coming with me. I spent my whole damn life in the city. I could go for broke, but the capital is in me.
Welcome, everyone, to District Divided, a DC sports podcast. I am Amit. That is KDot. This is a Shades Monday. The Washington Commanders win 23-10 in very, very convincing fashion. That was one of the most comfortable games we have had in quite some time. KDot, two questions to you. Number one, as always, how are you doing? Number two, saw your preview, predicted 24-10. And we know you've been hot recently, but I got to ask, what went wrong there?
First question, how am I doing? Fuck the World Cup. It's making my life hell, at least professionally. I am glad that when the United States got its bid, the DC Baltimore area will not be on the goddamn thing because I couldn't deal with the traffic. I'd probably murder somebody. Number two, the score. 1 point off, man. It's inexcusable. I guess my hatred, according to the fans, at least some of you, for Taylor Heinicke is skewed what it is I thought, and I straight up disrespected the man, disrespected the offense, and didn't give them the full tilt of points that they deserved. And for that, I am sorry. I would like to say it won't happen again. It probably will. But apologies.
I think we all appreciate that. I was a part of District Divided Nation watching that last episode, and when I heard 24-10, I was like, you know what? KDot's been hot recently. Lock it in. It's easy money. It's definitely going to be that. In fact, I found a stream over here. I'm in New Delhi, India right now, in my cousin's bedroom. She's currently in London, so thank you for the vacated space here. And I was like, yeah, obvious lock. And I managed to find a stream, started watching it. Saw it was 20-0 pretty early on. And I was like, man, I mean, we're going to need two safeties here to get to this 24 number. And then when Davis Mills ran it in, I was like, sure, go ahead. By all means, we're getting closer. But you know what? We appreciate it. 24-10 versus 23-10. We'll be better. So we promise to be better. But why don't we go ahead and talk about that game, KDot? Because it was quite comfortable from the get-go. Now, there are any number of ways we can go, right? So we can look at Taylor Heinicke's performance, for example. After the game, he's announced as the starter moving forward until Wentz is back, and Heinicke basically doesn't play well because the reason cited was winning. We can talk about the run game with Antonio Gibson and Brian Robinson. We can talk about this stellar defense right now. Yes, Houston's bad, but the point is they showed up and balled out. Or we can just talk about the current run of form in general that the Commanders are going through. KDot, I will just give it to you as to which angle you want to take over here, because once again, there are many ways to go about this.
I hate with the glass. You can't see all the things my eyebrows were doing when you were saying what it is you said. I felt like The Rock. I used to be able to do the people's elbow, but only want one. Oh, no, I got a hat on too. It doesn't help. All right, look. It was a win. It's better than a loss. 23-10 being the final score against the Houston Texans team, which is outright putrid. They're fucking dog shit. They're terrible. The thing with this is that I can sense, even me after the game or even during the game, there's a little bit of disappointment that we didn't blow them out more, right? Like you see what the Cowboys even did to the Vikings, and knowing the Vikings are still a good team, you'd want us to stomp these fuckers into the dirt, right? But then you look at, okay, how is this team built? What is it they're doing to win games? The way that we do things, we're not going to blow anybody out. This is probably the closest thing you're going to get to a blowout with the way that we play on offense and what our defense does. They held them to 10 points. Great day for the defense, right? And look, even at the end, they got kind of lucky on a few things. Some stuff bounced their way. Brandon Cooks is just a monster. The dude, he's a top-end wide receiver in football that doesn't get his due and won't ever get his due being there in Houston. So kudos to that guy. But when you have, look, all right, I got to preface this. there is no hatred coming from me to Taylor Heinicke. I love the dude. I absolutely adore him. I am of the idea that he is, because of the way the offense runs with him in at quarterback, you never will get the blowout. Or if you do, it'll be few and far between, right? Because there's so much time you can take running the ball down somebody's throat to get there into the end zone compared to throwing bombs like Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen. It doesn't happen with Heinicke, right? But when you're controlling the time possession, when you're running at the clip, we had 153 rushing yards against Houston, you're not going to get the score up that high. So this is a win that we should accept. We should be happy about. We have a string of games coming up with Atlanta and the 2 New York games with bye in between, that we should be winning these games. And that's the thing, is that like what Ron Rivera said as far as Taylor Heinicke being the starter, that's probably the angle that I should have said this entire Heinicke Carson Wentz thing from, which is that keep with the hot hand. You're winning games. No need to fuck with it. If you start losing games, go back to Carson.
Exactly.
Or do whatever you need to do. And I think that the way we kind of were talking about was more about the Howell project coming back in the frame. But now that playoff picture is in full view, there is a shot at this thing. Yeah, you run until the wheels fall off. But yeah, that's I see a lot. I see some of the junkies we're talking about on Twitter. Man, we need to be able to blow these guys out. We're not going to do that with the guy we have at quarterback. We're going to win games. We can win games, but we can't blow people out.
Yeah. And so I just wanted to jump in there and say, hey, blowouts aren't required, right?
Right.
This is a business. It's all about winning games, and that's what he's done. And once again, Ron Rivera, when saying Heinicke is going to be the guy, even when Carson Wentz returns, cited winning, which was also very smart of him, because if the winning stops, so his reason disappears, and he can immediately go back to Carson if he wants to. Now, I also want to note that what we are doing right now as a team, Taylor Heinicke is the best QB4. By that, I mean, I see us as San Francisco light. Okay. I see Heinicke as a Jimmy Garoppolo. I see that we want to run the ball. I see we have a strong defense. There's a whole lot of similarities between the two teams as I see it. I say San Francisco light because I believe San Francisco is the better football team, more talented football team, right? But you can see what we want to do. And given the Philadelphia Eagles game, Heinicke was able to convert on third down. And this game, yeah, he was a bit shaky, especially at the very beginning of that game. I mean, he had an interception he clearly threw that was just dropped. Now, the counterpoint there is that Carson Wentz had any number of those last season for the Indianapolis Colts in a similar role, where he's handing it off to Jonathan Taylor a whole bunch and then throwing into double, triple coverage. And those were dropped. Ends up with just 7 picks. We keep citing that because that's ultimately what you look at, is the interception number. If you looked for Heinicke, low again. So I think Heinicke is best for this team moving forward. I support the decision. And again, it was smart that he chose to use the word winning. This is Coach Ron Rivera as his reason, because it does provide a potential short leash there. Seems like you have some thoughts there, KDot.
I'm not going to fight you in any way, shape, or form.
I'm feeling a lot better. I'm feeling a lot better right now, but go ahead.
Good. I'm not going to fight the Taylor Heinicke Carson Wentz thing. I'm done. I have my opinion. I have my take. Nobody fucking likes it. So I'm going to keep that one to myself. But you guys, if you could go back and look what I think, whatever, I'm not going to rehash it. What I will say is that Ron Rivera finally was saying the right things behind the quarterback thing, because I thought he'd been fucking this up for the last week and a half. I'm going to let the team decide. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do. Just stop talking. Just shut the fuck up. You know, when Bill Belichick doesn't want to name the starting quarterback before Sunday, there's a reason to. You don't fuck up the chemistry in the team. You don't need to throw anybody else under the bus. Shut the fuck up, Ron. So I'm glad that he just look. We're winning games. It's what it is right now. Let's stick with it. That is an easy enough answer for everybody to walk away from the situation and say, all right, fair enough.
Oh, yeah. And it also, if you look at the New England situation, you look at the Dallas situation was clearly better, right? They played Cooper Rush until Dak Prescott, they played Cooper Rush until they lost. The moment they lost, Dak Prescott came back in. You didn't hear anything from Cowboys fans. Now, what happened on a Monday night against Chicago for the New England Patriots? Bill Belichick actually starts Mac Jones. And all of a sudden, they're Bailey Zappi chance after 1 3 and out. I mean, so you don't ever want to go away from the hot hand unless it's maybe a playoff situation where it's 1 and done, right? Because if you're in the regular season, there is time to lose a game and then be able to switch once that hot hand is gone. So I think it's well played here.
My thing is, regardless of, it's just, if you're going to make the process, you don't need to tell everybody what your thought process is. Shut up, Ron. Like that's my whole thing, is that, like, the more you talk, the more you have someone could take something the wrong way. The more you have somebody could, you back yourself into a corner with what the situation is that allows you to have to make the change. The best policy on this is to keep it boring, right? We're going to do, when you get asked the question, we're going to do the best thing. We're going to do the thing that's in the best interest of the team. What does that mean, Ron? We're going to do whatever's in the best interest of the team. You'll see when we release the depth chart. Like that's how you handle it. And look, if there's one criticism with Ron, as great as a guy he is, and I still think he's a phenomenal man, he's not great with the media. Hasn't ever really been. Like he's not. He doesn't. It's a net positive that he doesn't do anything negative necessarily with the media over. But he keeps things mostly medium. But yeah, you've seen even earlier this year, you see some, every once in a while it's a little rough. I heard a story. I think it was Peter Schrager was telling about Ron, and I criticized the shot when he was in Carolina. Then, like, the GM in Carolina said, "Hey, Peter, Ron wants to talk to you," and he was terrified. And he goes, and Ron starts getting in his ass. "Who the fuck do you think you are? Come and talk about my coach." And Peter shriveled up. I hope it's Peter Schrager. I might be butchering it, but he shrivels up. And then Ron's just fucking with him. He's like, "Hey, but next time, before you say something, just call me," right? So Ron's a good sport. He's a great guy. I just think, look, ride the hot hand. We got some easy games. Houston, Atlanta, which is a trap game. The New York teams, they're up and down sometimes. Division rival. We have a shot at doing this, but the main point of it is, regardless of whatever's happened at the quarterback position, Brian Robinson, Antonio Gibson, Curtis Samuel run the goddamn football, and defensively keep getting better. We got Chase Young still needs to come back. We got a defensive line that's doing an amazing job. Ridgeway, motherfucker. Beyond that, you get Deron Payne. That payday's coming, boy. I hope we can afford him. That payday's coming. Outside of him, Jonathan Allen's always doing his thing. Obata, the depth is there. We have pieces. The top 2 rated safeties in PFF are our guys. Benjamin St. Juste looking better. William Jackson not hurting the secondary. You got Kendall Fuller making picks and playing loose because they ain't worried about Jackson fucking it up. It's a good vibe right now. Stick with it. Just stick with it. It's going to look ugly. That game was fucking boring as shit. It's going to look ugly.
It was a very, very boring game, but boring in a good way.
Just get the
boring
W.
in a good way. And we did one better with William Jackson, trading him to Pittsburgh just to make sure no one was like, "Oh man, we need to look behind our shoulder," just like that. He's gone. Don't worry about it. This is your secondary. And shout out Jamin Davis, second straight game with the green dot, meaning he has taken tremendous strides over this sophomore year. Yeah. Kudos Jack Del Rio. Kudos Jamin Davis as well, looking internally, constantly getting criticized, and then turning around and having a fantastic year, honestly. I mean, you now see the athleticism on display. You see him being in the correct spot more and more. He's turning into one of our better defensive players, and it's awesome to see. That defensive
We miss Cole Holcomb.
Well, he is out right now. Superstar Cole Holcomb.
Yeah, we miss him. We miss that mediocre athlete. We miss him so bad.
Personally, I miss him. It's district divided. Yeah, I miss him. Yeah. Hey, listen, similar to Heinicke, he brings a certain energy to the defense. So imagine how good we would be if Cole were in. Maybe we just give up 3 points.
Washington, what do we do? Crazy white boy linebackers. We got it on deck. Will Compton, shout out.
I want to talk about that defensive line because we do talk about it a lot from like the pressure perspective, but not quite getting to the QB. 5 sacks, and constantly making David Mills get out of the pocket, make a throw under duress, just shout out the defensive line. You had mentioned everybody, of course, from the depth perspective, but like they really balled out this last game. The NFL, as we see, is a week-to-week league. I mean, Dallas beating Minnesota 40-3, for example. And then you see New England losing to Chicago, that same Monday night game we were talking about. Then Green Bay beating Dallas, right? Like, and Green Bay is still out of sorts. Maybe they figured a little out, but not enough. So week-to-week league, but they consistently show up, that defensive line. You can always count on them to make plays. So just wanted to shout them out and say that defense played great. That defense played great in a spot where they were supposed to. And so it was so comfortable watching that game for that reason. Like, we would punt and I'd be like, we're good. I have no faith in this Texans offense to do anything on us.
Yeah, I mean, the Texans are bad.
They are so bad.
They're really bad. Like, I don't think that.
But we talked about the trap game, right? Like, I mean, we talked about this being a trap game potentially, and they handled their business. It was a short week. It was on the road again. They
early on in that game. Early on in that game. Well, that's the thing. So, like, when I was growing up, if I got an A in a class, my parents didn't. I didn't get a prize. I didn't get I got a good for doing what you're supposed to do. Like, we're not giving you candy because you did what you're supposed to do. Now, if you get an A+, if you do the extra credit project, if you're also cranking out community service and all the chores done, like if you're going above and beyond, yeah, we'll acknowledge it. Great job. Good doing that.
Yeah, but that would also make you a bit of a sucker, wouldn't it? You've already got the A. I mean, you don't need to.
Well, here's the thing. I rarely got A's. So
okay, yeah. So now I understand.
Yeah. Once they broke the seal in 7th grade and I got my first C, which wasn't my fault, it was my teacher's fault, actually. He lost a project of mine. His desk was a mess. Shout out Mr. Ma. I'm cool with Mr. Ma. I love Mr. Ma. I'm still friends with him.
There you go. All right, cool. Shout out Mr. Ma.
Yeah, but he broke the seal on my first C, and I never looked back. Once I found out the president was a C student, I was like, oh shit. It wasn't until about 11th grade that I realized, oh, he's white. There's a difference.
Oh my gosh. Well, we are starting to venture into after the pod territory, of course, but that is absolutely fantastic.
It's a win that we needed to have, and I'm thankful that we got it. I'm not criticizing any of it, but I'm also not lionizing a lot of it. I like the flow that the team is in, and I hope they keep this energy level up, because we said it on this pod. One of the criticisms we've had for Jack Del Rio, at least I've had for Jack Del Rio, is it seems like he's a net negative when it comes to the emotional aspect to those guys. And they play better when they're feeling loose and they're feeling happy. The defense can ride that wave regardless of who the opponent is. Keep riding that wave. Offensively, Brian Robinson, that was a coming out game for him yesterday. And reason being, not because the stat line blew you away, but with the way that he was running that football, the anger, the intensity, the not going down off the first hit for anybody, that to me is the attitude that you can then take and build on. You don't get awards for beating Houston. You don't get that. But what you can do is take the lessons, take the energy, take things from this, and continue moving forward. Make progress with it.
That is 2 straight games where Brian Robinson has been running angry, right? Like, we had the run where he carried 6 Philadelphia Eagles with him for another 5 yards. And then the very next play actually got nominated for angry runs by Good Morning Football, where he's looking at the goal line and extends for the pylon to score. Very next play. And then you see a few runs against Houston where he just refuses to go down. He gets hit in the backfield. No problem. Throw this guy off me. Oh, I'll truck another dude. Then I'll drag another. Like, this is what we talked about with Brian Robinson Jr. Neither one of us had ever said, hey, he's going to average 5-6 yards a pop. The 3.5, 4 he's getting, the way he's getting it, that's what matters. And that's where sometimes stats will fail you, right? You will look at numbers and go, hey, not that good. But if you actually watch the game, you go, man, this dude's a stud. This dude sets the tone. Sort of like a Taylor Heinicke in his stats. How about that? See what I did there? Nice little...
You run the ball twice at 3 yards, it puts you at 3rd and 4. 3rd and 4 is 3rd and short. It's a lot better than 3rd and 9. It gives you options. It's a winning formula. You got to stick with it. As long as you're getting these things and ending positive yards, you're not getting tackled in the backfield all the time. You're not fumbling the football. It's a good thing. You just got to stick with it.
Yeah. And the offense has done a tremendous job doing that. And Antonio Gibson, 18 carries, 72 yards. Brian Robinson, 15 carries, 57 yards. Now, neither one of them, right? Neither one of them score on the ground. But that's what they need to do. Like, that is what they need to do to allow Taylor, who is not the most talented QB, to be able to convert those third and shorts, or Brian and Antonio themselves, or Curtis on a quick little jet sweep. He's effective. Another reference to the San Francisco Light with wide receiver runs. It's working right now. It's nice to see. You mentioned the Falcons game. That is a huge game. That is a huge game. All of a sudden. Game. So a trap game from what perspective? Because they're in the fight for a division right now with the Tampa Bay Bucks, and they are winning their games right now. They're in decent form as well.
Right. It's a trap game in the sense of where I think most people think of Atlanta.
Okay, their perception of Atlanta, but I think it's the fan perception of Atlanta. Not
it's a fan perception.
Player.
Yeah, no, it's more of a fan thing. I don't really believe in trap games for teams necessarily. Like it's any given Sunday, right? Like the Buffalo Bills losing with that Josh Allen fumble in the end zone. How many times would that happen? Right. So it's like anything can happen. It's once you realize you should never be comfortable is when you have a winning team, right? You never let somebody sneak up on you. Any of these games are traps, but I'm thinking about more of it in the lexicon of what it is we think of as fans. We look at Atlanta and then you're like, who are their wide receivers? With Drake London, Kyle Pitts is hurt, Marcus Mariota. Like what? These motherfuckers can win. They could win that game, and I guess we'll preview it. Or maybe I'll be previewing it. We'll
I will not be previewing it, unfortunately. But yes, KDot will be previewing it, and
maybe with a guest.
Very, very excited to see how that goes. And I do appreciate you putting out the preview that you did, this past week, because I was, guys. I mean, I couldn't move. It was
India COVID ward, man. Motherfucker.
It ended up being a gum infection. Like it was
no shit.
Here. Oh yeah. No, it was like I'm on antibiotics right now, actually. Hey, we'll talk about healthcare another time because it was so cheap here relative to what it would have been if I were in the anyway. I wanted to just touch on the Falcons on the road because we will be hosting them this coming Sunday, 1 p.m. Eastern time, Indian Standard Time, 11:30. In case you're here and you're a fan, and it's going to be interesting because the Falcons, if I'm reading the schedule and I'm just doing a quick count here, I believe 4-2 on the road, which seems like a lot of games already on the road. That's why I'm double checking. So I'm going to do this real quick on the fly. 0-1, 1-1, 2-1, 3-1. Oh my God. Yeah. 4-2 on the road. So they're not one of those teams that is okay. And then they suck on the road. They're surprisingly good on the road. In fact, most of their wins have come on the road. So just need to be aware.
San Francisco.
Yeah, exactly. So it is a week-to-week league. So we'll see what happens. KDot's going to drop that preview episode, maybe with a guest. We'll see. But wanted to jump over to the comment mailbag, unless you had any final thoughts there, KDot.
Nope. All good. Win's a win.
Win is a win. And I believe we might have 4 comments that we need to get through. So we have 2 from the episode you put out.
All right.
We have 1 from the one before that. And then we have, I think, 1 more from the one where Ridge, where your helmet at, said, and here we go. This is VA Money Group. 5 extra yards on the throw, end quote. That should have been the end of the argument. Wentz is finished. Appreciate the comment there. This was in reference to the 5 extra yards. You would trade swag for 5 extra yards on a throw. Okay, I don't know if you remember that, but that happened.
Not debating it anymore.
Gosh, I've been trying to bait you this whole time. Shout out VA Money Group. Appreciate it. Here we go. We've got Tony.
Ain't none of you motherfucking. No, I'm sorry.
Shout out Tony.
Hey, Tony.
What a game. This Eagles win felt better than the Cowboys win. Hopefully Scott and Ron continue. Probably Cowboys game. Hopefully Scott and Ron continue with this opponent-based game plan. JDR called a really good game too. The fumbles bailed the defense out. Also, nobody's talking about how AJ Brown was limited to 1 catch, of course, in reference to the Eagles game. Shout out Tony for the comment, as always. I mean, yeah, that was huge.
Yeah, the AJ Brown stat line. Yeah,
I had even said he was going to be player of the game.
Yeah,
and I mean, he was completely shut down. It was absolutely incredible. Then we jump over to your latest video, KDot, and we've got 2 comments. One from, of course, Tony. Shout out Tony. Thanks for putting out something in the absence of your other half. Appreciate you, Tony.
Better half.
Oh, please.
Better
come on
half.
now. Come on now. Other half is good. That's correct, actually. I say, and then Antoine Reese. Shout out Antoine. Appreciate the comment here. I say Terry over 100 yards, and Antonio Gibson has a big game. I would say Antonio Gibson did have a big game from the perspective of 18 touches, right, on the ground, 72 yards. That's consistency.
He's a difference maker.
We'll take that, absolutely. And Terry did have a number of clutch catches as well, just to keep drives going and to continue being the leader on offense, right? Like, the team rallies around Taylor, but time and time again, everyone knows the true leader on that team is Terry McLaurin. When Ron Rivera said my mother would be proud and he walked away from that locker room after that Eagles win, it was Terry that stepped up. Oh, it choked everybody up. It was Terry McLaurin that stepped into that role, continued the speech, ended it. I mean, God bless Terry McLaurin. He's just, we are so lucky to have him. I can't say that enough.
God bless Terry McLaurin and no one else.
Great reference there. I mean, it was absolutely fantastic to see that post-game speech. And this, guys, is District Divided. I'm here in New Delhi. That is KDot back at home. Thank you guys so much for listening. If you enjoyed today's video, please like it. Please subscribe to the channel. Please share. And most importantly, please comment, because we love reading those, interacting with you guys, and building the District Divided community. And once again, I'm Amit. That is KDot. Thank you guys for listening, and we will see you guys later. Till then, take it easy. Which is about to start in 12 minutes. So I'm outing when we actually recorded this, and also outing how this internet's going to do when I have to quickly turn this around and upload it.
It's going to be
I don't know how long this is going to take. Could be quick. What if it's quicker than it is at home? That would be pretty awesome.
When I went to Europe, I figured out a few things.
What'd you figure out?
A lot of things are better outside of this country.
Okay. Because if you have more to say, please do so, because then I have my story about how something.
No, just go right into it, because I'm gonna get too long-winded.
Okay, cool. So, I initially fly to India. I'm not feeling well. I mean, we were supposed to live stream the Eagles game, but I had like a low fever. I had a cough, like, sniffling, stuff like that. Took a COVID test, wasn't COVID. So I was like, okay, I can still fly. Like, it's just going to suck. You know that feeling when you can't swallow properly, and so you can't protect your ears from the air pressure and stuff like that? That's what was happening.
Disappointed me in many a glory hole.
And so, anyway, it was very difficult to be able to control that air pressure. So when I land, it was a 14-hour direct flight from Dulles to New Delhi. When I land, my left ear is blocked, but I sort of know that's going to happen. Whatever. At grandmother's place. Great to see her. Need to recover. And I'm doing all the right things. I'm getting better. But for whatever reason, my right gum where my wisdom tooth used to be 3 months ago just started swelling up like crazy. And I was like, what on earth is going on? And it was throbbing pain, like really intense. And I was like, maybe it's part of a cold. I have no idea. And I looked it up, and it was like, yeah, it can be. I was like, all right. But the cold was getting better and this was getting worse. So I was like, I don't know what's going on. So literally at 4:30 a.m., I'm in so much pain. I literally call home because it's like 6 p.m. over here. And I'm like, I don't know what to do. Like, I literally have a tear in my eye. I can't sleep. It is genuine pain. And they're like, okay, well, maybe call the following people. Thankful for their advice, thankful for the doctor's advice as well. End up being seen by a dentist, get an x-ray, get a cleaning, get antibiotics, all that, $13 over here. Okay, so getting seen by a dentist the next day and a doctor, getting the antibiotics, getting the x-ray, which that alone would have been 3 digits over here, or in the US. $13. Just the healthcare system in general is insane in the United States. And this was a reminder of that. And I'm so ingrained into it that I don't even necessarily blink twice, even with the insurance, when I see these. Oh, well, you can't see if I'm blinking at all. That's a good point. But it's it's genuinely insane, KDot. Genuinely.
I have a left knee that everything in it is torn to bits. I tore my meniscus, ACL, LCL, I think MCL all got what do they say? Like it wasn't a hyperextension. I mean, there was some sort of word for it. But like I don't have meniscus in this knee. And I remember this was before the Obama passed the 26-year-old because if you're under 26, you'd be on your parents' insurance. So I remember the Thanksgiving game was one of the times that I hurt the knee, at least initially. And my crazy aunt, rest in peace, spent Thanksgiving evening rubbing essential oils on my knee. And no one would walk by me in Thanksgiving or be around me because I stank. But I couldn't afford to go to the hospital. That's what it ends up being, a cost benefit analysis, right? And then the following year after that Thanksgiving, I was at a buddy's house and did the bit where you skip down one stair at a time. Yeah. I think I was going 2 at a time and miscounted, and there were 3 stairs at the end, and I panicked because I was intoxicated, and I jumped down the 3, and I heard a nice wet crunch, and I fell into a wall. And actually, my current girlfriend, who was not my girlfriend at the time, I was so excited that her and her friends were there. That's why I was getting to the door. And ended up leaning on this gorgeous Asian chick playing beer pong the rest of the night because she was my walking stick. And my parents had to trick me to go in the hospital, saying that they'd help me pay the bills. They didn't. And I realized I should have just gave a fake fucking name. Look, healthcare in this country is one of the most egregious things here. But I'm reminded of a buddy that I had, Dan, who lives in Seattle now. He's the guy that he's constantly begging me to come over to Seattle. Shout out Dan. Dan told me years ago, back when he used to work at the World Bank, and he was at the World Bank after he had just lived, I think, like 18 months in Dublin, and then before then he was in like Amsterdam. And I was telling him how like, I was thinking about settling down in Virginia, like I want a piece of land and all that. He said, "The fuck you talking about settling down?" And I was like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "How dare you even comprehend that you think you know where you want to be if you haven't gone anywhere?" And I think the concept here in this country of how great we are, how amazing it is, how this, that, and the other, for motherfuckers that haven't left their coast of the country, is something that just going to France earlier this year was a revelation. Now, I've been out of the country before, but I haven't spent that much time over in Europe ever in my life. And just see, do you know how better they are at driving? Do you know when they get out of the way in the left lane? That alone has broken my spirit driving here. I just drove up 95, headed to Baltimore. You think anybody, the motherfuckers going 5 miles? Just it's like just the way we prioritize shit here is just aggravating to me. And you know what makes it more aggravating to me? You got a bunch of motherfuckers that don't know any better and never watch soccer a day in their life. USA, fuck the World Cup. And that's how you bring it full circle.
Yeah, we got 6 minutes remaining before kick here. And I just wanted to say, just speaking to the contrast on the driving bit, every single person on the streets of New Delhi that is operating any sort of vehicle, I am talking just a regular car, I'm talking a motorcycle, I'm talking a bicycle, I'm talking a fucking 3-wheeler, anything, because you see it all. You're dodging cows, you are dodging markets, you are dodging pedestrians, you are dodging dogs that are just out there. I'm talking both pedestrians and actual dogs there. They should all be Formula One drivers. I know there are only 20 in the world, but they are all eligible because driving in this is genuinely insane. It
rains here and people put hazards on.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. It is so, I always remember how peaceful it is when I get back stateside, where I'm like, traffic doesn't exist here. Even when people are like, oh, DC traffic, it's bad. I'm like, actually, if we drove like it were New Delhi, we'd be home in about 6 minutes. We're about 25 minutes away. Like it literally is. They have worked out a collective system. I'm not saying it's right, but like it
works for them.
It works. It works.
Right, it just works.
It's completely fascinating. Like it is
in this country. You got a certain areas and there's distinctive driving, right? Like Maryland, I think for this country is distinctively. Everyone on the road is the biggest asshole on the planet. I'm either driving as fast as I want to or slow as I want to. No care about anyone else on the road ever. That's a Maryland driver for you. It hurt me to get a Maryland driver's license. The Virginia, everywhere they go, it's as though it's the first time they've ever been there ever. Regardless of where they are. DC drivers. I know, motherfuckers. I got my license in DC. You're terrible at parallel parking, most of you. And you live in the fucking city. It's inexcusable. But there's like other areas, like New York. New York is literally just a testament of there's a hole there. I wonder if I can fit. That's all you're doing in New York all the time.
It's a lot of people's life philosophy as well.
Yeah, I mean, many a man, many a nation have come and gone with that philosophy. But it works for New York in the driving system. I love driving in New York. It's one of my favorite places in the world to drive. I like the hodgepodge of like collection of different people coming from all over the world with their own driving things. When it basically boils down to, I see an area that I think my car can fit.
See space, take space.
It's a race to get there, and everyone's doing it, and it feels great. Because as long as you know everybody's in that mentality, then it works. Because you can plan for what the other person's doing, right? There is this societal sort of fix to it. That's why I hate Maryland so goddamn much, is as far as the driving aspect, is no one cares about the fellow man ever.
We are now 2 minutes from kick. We're wrapping it up. We love you guys. We will see you next time.
You fake ass soccer fans. Y'all don't know anything about that.
Can you give me a final score real quick? USA versus Wales, what? Because I already know you don't even know who's playing.
2-0, and the crowd goes wild.
Which team?
I don't fucking know. Who are we playing? Wales?
Yeah.
Oh, I like Princess Diana. I
think
my mom has a house in Wales. I'm going to go USA because I have to go USA, right?
Good. That's great because you're typically 1 point off. So you could either be 1-0 or it could be 2-1. But US is winning no matter what, according to you.
You know what fucked it up? If Ted Lasso had dropped a new season like last month, I'd be all in. But they didn't. So I'm out.
We'll see you guys later.